So, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me online? Yes, hello. How many people do we have online? 5. That's the number I should read. 5. Okay, so after the introduction that we had a couple of hours ago about outreach activities more in general, let me talk together with Federica and Claudia, who is not here at the moment, but who will help me with the questions later on. Let us present AstroEDU, which is one of the platform, one of the tools that you can use to share outreach activities, which is one of the fundamental steps in producing good outreach activities. Okay, hello. So, how is this session organized? I will talk for less than 10 minutes, just to tell to those of you who don't know what AstroEDU is, just to give you an introduction about AstroEDU. And then we will go to a very practical part of the session, transforming an in-presence activity into an online activity, just to give you an overview of the process when, if you have an activity that you do yourself in schools, or that you know that a researcher of your institute, for example, is doing in schools, you think it's a good activity and you want to propose it to AstroEDU. How do you do that? We will do it in two examples, with 2 examples that have already been published in AstroEDU, and we will go through the step-by-step process just to see which difficulties, which problems you can meet in doing this, okay? Just to make things as easy and as fast as possible. Okay, we will do this with Mentimeter. So if you have your phone by you, or if you want to talk to me, I mean, people online can participate having their mobile phone near the computer. If you don't, you can just tell me, you can just answer with the chat or by voice, as you wish. So let's start saying what AstroEDU is. So AstroEDU is an online platform for educational activities by IAU, the International Astronomical Union. It has a specificity, it has a characteristic that other platforms do not have. There are many archives of educational activities around the world. Why AstroEDU is unique? Because activities in AstroEDU are peer-reviewed. This means that each activity that we publish has been reviewed, has gone a process of reviewing involving a teacher and a researcher. So it is approved from a scientific and from an educational point of view. At the moment, we have about 100 activities in English published in AstroEDU and almost 40 in Italian. We are in a, I should say, in a renewal moment of AstroEDU, meaning that 1 year ago we started with a new editorial board. I became editor-in-chief. There are other people working with me, Edward. I mean, I will not present them because there is a bunch of people working in AstroEDU. So it's me, I'm just the la punta dell'iceberg. I'm just the top of the iceberg. AstroEDU is really a big community, and it wants to be integrated, to work together with other communities just like Europlanet. So what we want to do is make AstroEDU become your platform to distribute worldwide good educational resources. So at the moment, we have 2 versions in English and Italian. In the next future, in the next year, we will start other versions in other languages, so it will become more and more an international platform. At the moment, IAU and OAE, the Office of Astronomy for Education, are the organizations that run AstroEDU, and they are helped by ENAF and Las Cumbres Observatory, who land part of the people working in AstroEDU editorial board. But I'm sure that this list will become longer and longer in the next years. Okay, so as I said, since April 2022, so in the last year, we are in the process of reorganization of AstroEDU, complete reorganization. So if you already have an activity published in AstroEDU, be aware that it has been renewed in the last year, so it might have changed a lot. And let me do an analysis with you of who are the visitors, the users of AstroEDU. So if you publish an activity in AstroEDU, who will be seeing and who will be using this activity? Of course, we are talking about teachers, worldwide teachers, so teachers coming from all over the world, students, but also parents, researchers, just as ourselves, so researchers working in institutions, in universities, who spend part of the time doing educational activities, public outreach officers, and many other people who will use AstroEDU as a platform to find the good resources. And to give a number, as I said, numbers are important, so we need to have a photograph of the starting point of AstroEDU. In 2021, so before the renewal, and please keep in mind that in 2021, AstroEDU didn't publish any new activity because the editorial board wasn't working at that moment. So in 2021, it was just a platform presenting the activities that had been published the years before. We had almost 100,000 unique visitors in AstroEDU using the resources. And they already are, even if we only have 2 languages at the moment in AstroEDU, our visitors are already coming from all over the world. So we plan to make this graph better and better, to spread the news, not just in English, native English speaking countries, but we can see that already activities are used by teachers and visitors from all over the world. And if you're wondering about what kind of activities are published in AstroEDU, let me give you an overview. I will just show you a couple of examples of the last activities that have been published. These activities are very differentiated by topics and by approaches. For example, this is an activity for smaller children proposing a game with craters, proposing to young students or to people in a festival, in an exhibition, to play a game to age craters in an image of the moon. So it's about geology, it's about planetary science. And this is another activity for older students where you get to calculate the average speed of a comet using astronomical images. It's for higher school students. And of course, it is related not only with astronomy, it is related with mathematics. So we are proposing it to mathematics teachers to use astronomy as a topic to involve students in studying mathematics, because we know that astronomy is a topic that can really make students become passionate. So why don't we use it to make students understand that mathematics is useful? It's something that they can use to calculate the average speed of a comet and many other things. So let me also say that all these activities, sorry Anita, we already started. No. We're just giving an introduction about what AstroEDU is and the activities that are published. Let me also say that all activities, this is very important, have a DOI. Sorry, I always say it in Italian, DOI, which doesn't correspond to the English pronunciation. This means that these activities, once they have been reviewed and published, you can put them in your CV, just like a scientific publication, because they are publications. They are a scientific publication. So it is very useful to know this, because this is a very big difference in respect of other platforms that can publish educational activities but do not have a peer review. Okay, and if you are wondering if AstroEDU, if you can I propose an activity for younger children to AstroEDU? This is for children less than 6 years. It's too small. I mean, I don't think they would like astronomy as a topic. Maybe AstroEDU doesn't want this kind of activity because it's just for older students. No. Let me say that we want to publish activities for all age ranges, going from 0 to 99 years old, and even older if you want. Of course, we are not, I mean, from 0 to 4, it's not so easy to find activities, but we are a bit better in the other age ranges. But please, if you have an activity for younger students or for university students, don't feel ashamed or don't feel shy, please propose it, because I think that proposing activities going to all age ranges is really a powerful choice. And also, I would like to show you the most viewed activities of the last 2 years. Of course, this data that I'm presenting is before the renewal process of AstroEDU, so it's somehow old data, but it's important to show you that activities, the most viewed activities, go on, Federica, the most viewed activities are activities that relate to school programs that touch easy topics like why do we have season, let us explain why there is day and night, why there are shadows on Earth, are they due to the sun, light pollution, models of the sun, the Earth, and the moon. I mean, things that teachers usually do in schools, and they need these activities to help them do their work in a professional way. So the most viewed activities are activities that relate to easy topics, related to CV, to school programs, multidisciplinary artistic activities as well, related to poetry, to music, and of course, hands-on experiment, because when you do something, it's a way to learn. So proposing to your students to do an experiment is much better than explaining the physics or the laws, the science that's behind it. So if you're asking yourself, my activity is about physics, it's not just astronomy, it's not pure astronomy. Can I propose it to AstroEDU? Yes, you can, of course. This is just to show you that many of our activities are related, of course, somehow to astronomy, but they can focus on Earth science, on ecology, on technology, on physics, on gravity, on other topics, and they just use astronomy to bring physics or bring other topics in a classroom in an innovative, fun way. So if you have an activity that is not completely only related to astronomy and you ask yourself, can I propose it to AstroEDU? The answer is yes. It's not because we have Astro in our name that we will not accept activities that are just partly related to astronomy. So please feel free to propose all activities that you believe are innovative and good activities to be done in a classroom. And just to show you the most used tags in our activities, these are the tags that our authors choose to describe their activity. And as you see, hands-on Earth navigation. We have a number of activities about navigation, about energy, cartography, coordinates, art and creativity. So it's not just about astronomy, it's using astronomy to make students become fond of science. Okay, so that's the interesting part. How can you become part of the community? What can we do for you, and what can you do to become part of the community? Don't let this drawing scare you. This is the review process. It's a bit complicated, as all review process. An activity can be accepted, it can be rejected, it needs to go through different phases of the process. This is not a problem for you. You will just interact with the editorial board, just as in a scientific paper. I mean, it's not very different from a review process in a scientific paper. The only difference is the fact that you will have a teacher also collaborating in the process. And this is very important for you. This is very powerful to have to understand their advice. So how can we collaborate to use AstroEDU? The first choice, the easiest one, of course, and we don't want you to stop here, of course, it's just the first step, but you can use resources. You can, of course, go to AstroEDU, look at what's already there, choose the activity you want to implement in a school or propose to a teacher you know, and you can just use what is being published there. Of course, you can always do that. You are very welcome to do it, but this is the easiest choice. And as Anita said, we are very individualist being communicators, so I'm sure that you don't just want to use resources done by others, you want to propose your own resources. So you can, of course, submit your resource. You have been doing an activity in schools for years, or you have done it just once. You are completely confident with the activity itself, or maybe you have some doubts, maybe it can be done better, maybe I need the help of someone to make it become better. Yes, maybe you do. So please submit your resource, contact us, and in the next hour, in the next half an hour, we will see all the process that will lead you from an activity that you do in presence in a school to a good submission that will not take 6 months to be reviewed because it's already perfect, and I will just read it and say, perfect, let's just send it to a teacher and it's okay. Okay? So you can submit resources, of course. Then, next step, because it's not finished, I mean, you can, as Europlanet is your community, AstroEDU, of course, can be a second community to you as well, to you as a person or to you as a community, so to you person or to you Europlanet. You can become a reviewer, so you can step up and ask us if we need a reviewer to review some of the activities that we will receive next month. This is very much appreciated because we have activities on many different fields. So it's very difficult for us to become an expert in all topics. So I just received an activity on adaptive optics. This is the two I'm making an example that has just happened. And of course, I'm not an expert in adaptive optics. I have a lot of doubts. So if I know that in my list of people, of experts, there is an expert in adaptive optics, I will contact him or her and ask for a technical review about the activity. It will just take you, I promise I will not ask for more than 1 or 2 activities in a year. We already have a long list of experts, so it will not be a daily activity for you, but it will be very appreciated. And of course, starting from the end of 2023, we will have new languages. So we just have English and Italian at the moment, but we plan to have French, Spanish, Arabic. It's not just Europe, African. So we need to have people help us build a local editorial board and translate what's already there. This is a long-term project. It's not for this year. This year we will finish the English and Italian activities. We will just optimize what's already been done. But in the next year, we will start this process, and we really need the community to be as wide as possible. We really wanted to make worldwide. So again, let me say that it's your platform for educational resources, activities, and let me add, I didn't say it before, that of course, we have a partnership with the Europlanet. We have a number of activities that are already published in AstroEDU that were born in the Europlanet community, that Anita has worked on. I mean, there is a lot of exchange, but it's a good place to make your activity and to be used really worldwide. I promise that our efforts will be in making your activity as used as possible once you decide to propose it and to go through the review process. Okay, so we will be using your mobile phone, as I said. This is QR code just to have you just to propose to you to subscribe to AstroEDU. Don't do it now. I mean, it's you will need to subscribe. So I will show it at the end of the presentation as well. So you will have a chance if you want to subscribe afterward. What we will be doing now is the full process of submission and reviewing. Okay, and of course, I would like to hear your advice on this process. I would like to discuss with you the problems, and I would like to do it with 2 examples that I will show you and that we will analyze from in-classroom activity to activities, to AstroEDU online activities. Sorry, just a second. Okay. So, of course, when you're transforming an activity that you do in presence to an AstroEDU activity, there are many problems that you need to solve, and we are here to help. So, first of all, you need to write the activity giving all the info and the material online, which is very different from bringing the material in a classroom with you. So if they need the scissors, if they need the rocks, if they need the sand, if they need anything, they need to know and they need to prepare all the material before. The teacher needs to do this process, so he needs your instructions in a simple form to be able to do all this preparation beforehand. And this is not so easy, it's not so simple. Other problem, in different countries, school programs are very different. So we want to address teachers from all over the world. We want to be aware of the fact that a teacher in an Arabic country can have a different background, but even just staying in the same country in Italy, physics is not always taught by people with a physics background. It is taught by people who have graduated in biology and many different fields. So how do you address that? You need to give them all the tools and the background that they need to be able to reproduce that activity on their own. Teachers have very little time and they need to focus on specific topics. You can't tell them, please study this book and then you will be able to do the activity. They will laugh at you. I mean, I'm talking about teachers in Italy. Teachers really have a limited amount of time. If they feel that what you're proposing is really simple, it makes their life better, they will do it. If they don't, maybe they will, I mean, the first time that you meet them, they won't do it. Maybe when there is a relationship and they trust you, they might even study something more. They might dedicate some of their time to the activity, but not the first time. You need to really make things simple and fast for them. And finally, activity must be appealing. I mean, when you look at them in AstroEDU, you need to think, wow, this is really funny, I want to do it. You don't need to think, oh, wow, I will need to convince my students to do it. No, you really need to think, this is funny, this is something that they will like doing. So let's focus on how, let's start with an idea. I mean, you already have an activity and you are in the process of proposing to AstroEDU. How will you do that? So we are addressing that part of the process from the activity that you have already done in a classroom. You think it's funny, it can become easy, it can be useful, it's in school programs. How do I propose it to AstroEDU? And we will do this with Mentimeter, so I will ask you questions that come in the process of transformation, and I will do it. Being a journalist, I don't want to go too far from my background, so I will ask you the who, what, why, where, the typical journalistic questions that you ask yourself when you write an article. So we will analyze the activities, trying to understand how to answer to these questions to fill the tool that will make submission possible, the AstroEDU submission form, which is simply a way to organize all the information of your activity in a structured, easy way for us to review it. So this submission form, it might look long, complicated. It is not, believe me. It is a form to guide you, and it asks all the questions that you should ask yourself when you transform an activity that you do in classroom in an online activity. It's made of 3 parts. Part 1 is more in general information about the activity, so the name, the abstract. Of course, we need, as in a scientific article, we need a title, an abstract, a teaser. We need an affiliation, who has done it, the country, an email, and of course, look at the last line. You can see it, sorry, but in the last line where I wrote, very important, it's images. We need images. Because to sell an activity, teachers need to see how the activity is done in a classroom. 100 an image is 1,000 words. And this is true for activities as well. So we need you to take photos or have images of the activity that you are proposing. And if you don't, Federica will Federica has helped me. She has done some of the activities that were proposed, taking the pictures herself. But of course, if you do it yourself and you take pictures of the students doing the activity,
I don't have to buy strange things.
Exactly. She will be very happy. Part 2 is information about the activity. So this is more specific about the activity, the goals, the learning objectives, the evaluation, the material you need, the background information. This is for AstroEDU. Background information is the information that the teacher needs to know before doing the activity. This is very important because we address teachers from all over the world and teachers who can have a different background. So we need to tell them what they should know. It's not what the student needs to know, it's what the teacher should know, should study or should know to do the activity. So we need to give him or her some information on how to prepare the activity itself. Then there is the description, the connection to school curriculum, blah, blah, blah. We will see this one by one. And then part 3, it's metadata, because we want your activity to be the first one when you look on Google activity about light pollution. We want AstroEDU to propose to be one of the first results. So we want the metadata to be descriptive of the activity and very useful to organize the activity. How long does it take? How many hours? Age group? Which students is it? does it fit? Does it fit? What are the keywords? I mean, everything that is needed to describe the activity and that will be useful for people looking online on Google for an activity. We want to catch their attention. So keywords are our main topic. So let's go serious and let's start the exercise. We will, if we have time, we will do 2. If we don't have time, we will just do 1. But let's start with the first one. The first activity is make your own sun. Please don't look it up in AstroEDU yet. We will go through all the process in transforming the activity into what you will find in AstroEDU at the end. This activity has been proposed by Colombia. It was done by the Helios group, the Galileo Teacher Training Program, and it's a very easy and I should say pretty activity because I like it very much. It's about building a model of the sun with your hands, with plasticine, so with the material that is very easy to find and very low cost. But at the same time, it shows how the sun is made. So all the layers of the sun, you can see the sunspots, you can see that building this model of the sun, students can learn a lot about how a star is working. So it was done for the first time with low-income children in Colombia. It was available in Spanish at the beginning, but we thought it was so easy and so funny and so fast to do and so powerful that it could be proposed all over the world in the right form, of course. So how do you transform this idea in an educational activity online for AstroEDU? As I said, let's ask ourselves the 5 main questions and let's start from who can do this activity? I mean, who are the age ranges, the students this activity is suitable for? So if you go to Mentimeter and I ask you, you will find in Mentimeter a question about which age range you think this activity is suitable for. So online as well, if you can. And we will be showing the results. No, puoi mettere, tanto lo vedo nel campo reale. If you don't have, sorry, of course, please, the QR code, you can use the QR code or you can go to menti.com with the code that you see on top there. And when you have done, please tell me, and we will show the results in real time.
Sorry, what's the exact question again?
You will find the question in Mentimeter. Yeah. The question should.
What is it? Pick one or pick seven?
No, it's you can pick 3 of them. You can pick different ones. 3, vero? You can pick 3 of them. Yeah, you can pick 1 or many. Okay, so these are the answers. Very good. I mean, this was an easy question. This is, but again, even if it's an easy question, we had some doubts taking the decision, because if you see the activity itself, the model, don't go back to the activity. The activity itself is about building a very small model of the sun. So while deciding to which age range it should be aimed to, there are a number of factors that you need to take in account. Of course, it's for young children, it's not for high school, but is it for preschool? Is it for primary? Is it for middle school? Because do preschool children, are they able to build such a small model, such a small reproduction of the sun? Is it possible? And is it useful? Will they understand? So, of course, there is not just a single answer to this question. This is just to show you that all the questions that you will ask yourself can be answered in many different ways. You decide that which age range you really want to aim to. You could also aim to high schools. Why not? Proposing it in a different way, proposing the activity in a different way. But since we propose it to make it very simple, to make it small, we assumed, as you did, that primary schools were the right target, age range to target. So we need to give some time to Federica, who I need to thank for her help. And yes, so this is the answer that we also gave to these questions in filling the form. Do you have any comment on this? Do you have any activity that you have done yourself that was first done for bigger or smaller kids and then you readapted to a different age range? Because of course it's possible. You can do it. I mean, you can propose it to different age ranges. Okay. Also online, if you have any question or any comment, please let us know. No, non lo stiamo vedendo però qui. Okay. So let's go back. Primary school. That was easy. Just a second, we have some technical. Okay. So that was easy. Who can do it? Primary school. So when filling in the form, this must be very clear, and we need to keep in mind that we are building this activity for primary school. Primary school means that the teachers are primary school teachers. They are not used to scientific articles, they are used to textbooks for primary school. So going on, the metadata, so the third part of the form, there is a specific question about the age range and the educational level. So what we chose to do is go from 4 to 12, even if it's not just primary school, but to focus on primary school. Why? Because it is useful in the primary school programs. We are not sure that in preschool, this is an activity that can be proposed because it's so small, it's so, I mean, we are not sure that it's the best activity to propose in preschool. So we chose to focus on primary school, but the age range goes back to 4. That's our choice. Let's go on. So where in the program? This means which topic does this activity address? What, when will the teacher will be using this activity when in the school program? So is there a specific topic that can be addressed, or many of them? Again, it's not just one. You can have at least, I mean, you can have different topics. You can choose different topics. Puoi andare direttamente. Sì.
Oh no, this is the previous. C'hai lo schermo.
Okay, so where in the program? No, da qui no, ma lo vedo da qui.
The sun.
The sun, so the first one is the sun, of course.
Then solar system and stars.
solar system and stars, there is already a doubt. Do we want to address solar system? Do we want to address stars? And why? Then
gravity and relativity.
Gravity and relativity.
Ecology and physics.
Ecology and physics. So you see, this is a very easy activity. You are building a model of the sun that there is already a doubt on which topics should a teacher be addressing when using this activity. And of course, all the choices that you made are possible choices, but you need to take in account what we said in the age range. So we are addressing primary school. So we need to choose the topics that are related in the program of primary school to this activity. So, of course, we could talk about gravity, relativity, but children do not, I mean, not in primary school, it's not in the program. So we prefer, let's say it this way, we prefer to focus on the topics that are more integrated in the program. So it's about the sun, the solar system, and stars. And again, suggested keywords. So which keywords would you suggest to promote your activity? You think this is, do you understand how important this is when you prepare your activity? This is fundamental because these are the keywords that teachers will look up to find the activity. Which are the keywords that you suggest for this activity? You are free to suggest any keyword that comes to your mind. If you want, you can do it just saying them, please. I mean, I thought that we would... Maybe the online can do it voting, and maybe if you want, just tell me. There are some keywords that look quite obvious.
Sun.
The sun, yes, of course, why not? Yes, interior of star, space. I'm waiting because I'm waiting for a specific...
Hands-on.
Hands-on, yes, because we are focusing on the scientific topic, but again, a teacher is usually... Primary teacher is not looking for something specific on the star interior. He or she is looking for something that can be done easily because his target is to build something, to make an expert, to make a model, to make his students build something that is similar to another thing, to understand a topic. So hands-on experiments, I mean, maybe you need to change completely your point of view to understand the right words to suggest to teachers. Yes. And so these are the words, the keywords that we presented: model, sun, hands-on, Galileo teachers, and sunspots. Because sunspot is something that even in primary school, if they make observation with a sun telescope, they can be curious about. It happens. So these are the keywords that we decided to associate with the activity. Again, what do you do? So let me go through the activity, showing you how you should present it. So this is a very easy, I will not ask you anything about this, but what should you do to prepare the activity? So how should you, presenting the activity to AstroEDU, describe the activity itself? And what you see here is the answer: images. I mean, this is a very easy activity for primary school, yes, but it must be described in detail. So you need to be very clear on the material they need to prepare and how they should, step by step, realize the activity, not giving anything for granted, because a teacher doesn't want to rediscover hot water, we say in Italy. I don't know how you say it in English. So you really need to give them a step-by-step description of the activity. So maybe if you are a researcher doing an outreach activity, an educational activity, I'm not sure that you spend your time taking good pictures of the activity step by step. You should dedicate some of your time to do this. And if you don't, have an outreach officer, someone working with you helping to do this. But please be aware that this is a very important part of building the activities. That's not just the idea, but it's all the material that is needed to describe the activity and how you do it. Which color you need for all the layers, how many sunspots, how you build it, etc. And let's go to the why. So why are we doing all this? What are the goals and the learning objectives? This is a specific vocabulary that is very specific to education. Goals and learning objectives are not the same thing. Let's share the vocabulary of teachers. This is meant for teachers. So goals and learning objectives are not the same thing. Goals are something general that you want to achieve with your activity. I want my students to become more passionate about astronomy, about science. I want them to have an idea of what the sun is. I want them to understand the difference between the sun and planets. These are goals. Learning objectives are something that you can quantify, that you can make an evaluation on. So please remember, if you are preparing an educational activity, I know that we are not teachers, I know, but we are producing material for teachers, and evaluation is not only for us, it's for teachers, it's very important. Give them a tool to evaluate if the activity has reached its learning objectives. So it's very important when you prepare the activity to understand that you need to craft an evaluation tool, and you need to identify the learning objectives that you need to test. So I want them to understand that the sun has layers. Did they understand it? There will be a test. In the test, there will be several answers. They will answer, yes, they understood the learning objective. They answer, no, they didn't understand. Okay, so it's a way of evaluate your activity. So if you want to, I think we don't have enough time to go through all the questions. So let's propose, let's not do the Mentimeter, but please, if you have an idea of goals and learning objectives that this kind of activity could aim to, please tell me what could be the goals of this activity. Goals is a general knowledge. Yes, please.
Thanks, Livia, to all the team for this work. It's really my question is, you showed us a classification of visitors into groups, teachers, parents, etc. Have you got from statistical analysis of web data about some information enabling you to attach percentage to these groups?
No, not yet. We will do that. There is a specific moment organized by the IAU in which the community meets. It's the show workshop. It's in November. And I think we will go there and we will do a focus group. We will analyze people using activity in AstroEDU. With Google Analytics, we have the numbers by age range, but we do not have their role. So it's not yet, but it's very important to do that. Yeah.
And I've been particularly impressed by your activities for preschool and early primary children. I have very shortly explained why. Just recently, I translated book based on small Chinese encyclopedia of astronomy. And I found there that quite extensive text about nuclear reactions, diffusion of energy, etc., etc. In our country, only high school students are learning something. But Chinese editor has recommended us that simply label this book as appropriate for children from 10 to 12. Yeah. And I asked her, the editor, that the argument what I said, that in our country only high school students know this. And she answered, in our country, 8-year children are learning such things. So if we have to remain competitive, we have to use such activities.
I understand that, and that's why we need editorial boards, local editorial boards, and we will have them. I mean, it will not just be about translation. We will have editorial boards that will understand if the activity needs just to be translated or needs to be modified. For example, it's not for the same age range, we need a different background, we need to provide more information to the teacher because the teacher doesn't have all that background. So the editorial board, the local editorial board, will be in charge of that, understanding if that activity that has been done for the world, I mean, for the European, at the end, the European point of view, is it fully, can it be fully accepted by Chinese, by other countries, or does it need to be modified? And they will have the possibility to change activities, to modify them. So it will be very important to have editorial boards all around the world. And this comes up, especially when you go outside Europe. It's true. So let me finish just this activity, then I will open to a question. And thank you, because it's very, I mean, it's the focus point. Having the activities that are can be used from all around the world is really the focus point. And I believe that the answer is local editorial boards. I cannot give other answers, because what you say is completely true, and it changes in time as well. So we really need to be able to change the activities in time and in places, and for different places. Okay, so learning objectives. As you see, goals are more general: experience astronomy as a playful and hands-on activity. This is a goal of this activity. Allow children to access to astronomical knowledge more in general. This cannot be evaluated, because how do you know if they have had fun doing this activity? This is impossible to evaluate. But learning objectives, yes, can be evaluated, and you need to provide an evaluation. So learn about the sun structure, a specific question. Does the sun have layers? Does the sun have a core? Does it have, what are sunspots? You can provide an evaluation on those topics. And last question, how can you explain it? So this is the background information that the teacher needs to have to propose this activity for his students. We chose to do it as easy as possible. So using basic information about the sun, and suggest really basic information. So also using Wikipedia, using tools that can be online and can be in different languages, and suggesting a number of videos and other information that the teacher can use to go more in deep and to have more background. So we are at the end of this first exercise. This is the activity that you can find in AstroEDU. If you are curious about the activity, you can go on Google and look, make your own sun. This is the activity in AstroEDU. If you want to see the compiled form, we have just answered to some questions to compile this form. If you want to see the whole form and study how this activity has been transformed in a specific form, you can go to that QR code, where you can download the PDF and you can read it later, and just have a look at all the answers that we gave to transform this activity in an online activity. I know that I still have half an hour, but I see that you are all of you are really tired, so I'm not sure that I will go through the second activity. No, I will just a question. I will accept all your questions and try to answer. Maybe this is the best choice. Are there any questions about how to transfer? Yes, please.
The questions are not about the activities themselves, about the sustainability of the project. It's because will it be there in 2 years' time? These activities are they going to be available, or they will reach the end of life?
The first activity has been proposed to AstroEDU in 2013. It's there. It has been renewed this year, so you can look it up and use it. So I cannot say it will be forever there. Of course, internet websites need to have people behind them to work on them. But IAU is a very big institution and a very big community. So I'm sure that we will have enough human resources to work on the editorial board and on the website to keep it grow and to keep the old activities updated. It's a big job. I mean, it's not something that you do on your spare time. But I mean, up to now, the first activity have more than 10 years, and they are online. They have been checked. They work. They have been renewed. So some of them were a bit old, so they have been changed. They have been modified. I hope that in the future we will have the same possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe just to get a bit of like to sense the room. Like, would you have already after this presentation in mind activities that you have done in a school, or that you have done at a science festival, or that you have done when schools visit your institute, that you think could be adjusted so that they could be feasible for AstroEDU, so that they can be used by many more colleagues. So if you have some in mind, just tell us a little bit more about it, and ask Livia what you should do perhaps to make them, if they're if the editor-in-chief thinks they're suitable, or what they need to be spiced up.
Well, I have a topic which we just discussed yesterday anyway. So
Yes.
in that case, yeah, but just general to inform about it. I'm now a part of a project, a EU project about light pollution, where a lot of material is now coming up in English language and also will come up in German. And this is definitely a part where I'm planning to come in here as soon as we are a bit further on. Just one comment I have for the categories. With the German teachers, I have to, with the different curriculums in all the different counties in Germany, not primary schools, but for the older ones, I really must mention the topics in the curriculum where it fits in. The teacher will just look, I'm doing informatics. Can I find a topic which fit in? Maybe I've overlooked it here, but that's a field where I have to be very careful to show them this is not only STEAM, you can go in informatics and physics. So that the teacher who is worried that he's doing something which is not correct for the curriculum, so he's not looking away from that.
Allora, let me say yes, please. Light pollution is about ecology, about Earth, so it's very, very powerful. We just had one. Yeah, it's fantastic. So yes, please. Yes, there is a field in the form dedicated to CV, to the curriculum, to the topics of the curriculum that are associated with the activity. It's one of the toughest one. I mean, it's one of the most complicated to address. So I feel I have reviewed all the activities, but I feel that on that field we need some additional work, because some of the activities have more than 10 years. They have been made with different editorial boards, so they have been classified in different ways. So we need to review that, but there is a field. Not all the activities that have been published have the right content of that field. But yes, we will address the topic, and if you want to collaborate with us to try to understand how to do this in an easy but effective way for teachers. I mean, they need to look it up and say, informatic, computer, that's it. I mean, it needs to give precise information, but very easy to read. So if you have any idea on how to reorganize that field, we are very happy to.
I think it really country depends. So that
it depends much on the country. Yeah. Okay, I mean, but that's a topic that we will address in the next years, and I'm aware that this and the evaluation are the two problems that really are the most difficult fields to be filled in. I think there are questions online as well.
So the first one is, regarding translations of the available activities, do you already have a strategy to move forward?
Google Translator. Sorry, no, that's not true. Yes, I think this will be the activity where the local editorial boards will come in. So we will need to do it step by step. We will start from Italian, not because I'm Italian, but because I worked in the Italian board before becoming the editorial, the editor-in-chief. So I know the Italian editorial board, and it's already in place. So the next step will be doing this work with the Italian editorial board, understanding how to make it as efficient as possible, because we don't want, as I said, we don't want it to be just a translation. We want to make a localization. So they need to check if the activity not only is, it doesn't need just to be written in Italian, it needs to be good for Italian teachers. So this will need some work from their side. Some activities might need some additional reviews, and we want to provide that. So we will do this in the next 6 months. Then we will go to a third version of AstroEDU. So we will understand if Spanish or French is the next language. This depends on the community. So we will see if it's a good time for us. French or Spanish, and then we will go on to the next language, and we will do adding one language to the AstroEDU community one by one.
Okay, another question. What if the activity is not hands-on?
I mean, we do not accept only hands-on activity. We think it's the most used tag. It's one of I mean, researchers who do educational activities usually build hands-on activity because they have that approach. So it's the most used one because most of the activities that we think about are hands-on. But it doesn't mean that they should all be hands-on. We have activities that are just lectures, debate. There are lessons that can be with debates, so descriptions of all the topics that can be discussed in the classroom, how you should address. There are lessons, digital tools. Yes, there are activities. The last one that the previous one, Moving Constellations, is about using software, using a stellarium to understand that constellations move over time in the sky. I mean, there are many kinds of activity, and they do not need to be hands-on. So really feel free to propose different kinds of activity. No problem with that at all. You're welcome. Just to show you another example, I don't want really to make you no, but I will show you just the example. It's the second example I would have analyzed with you. It's called Let's Play with Powers of 10. Again, it's an activity that you can find in AstroEDU. You can look it up on Google. And it's a game of cards where you can that you can play in groups in the classroom to understand the powers of 10. So a topic, a mathematical topic, the powers of 10, but it is explained with different examples that you need to put in the right order, and it is related to astronomy, of course, cosmology, of course, the universe, but also to atoms, to biology, to the scales of life, from very small things to very big things. And so it's not only related to astronomy. Again, it's a game of cards you can download in the activity, print. So we need to provide all the material to do it. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to go in. You need to print the cards that you find online. And there is a precise description on how you should play this game. And of course, again, I mean, we explain all the materials that you need, how to use it, and for which age ranges it is useful. So here we have an activity that it's for older students. It's not for preschool, it's not for primary school, it's useful for high schools, for middle schools. So we have a number of different kinds of activity that we can propose. So are there any questions, any other questions?
Just a comment. What's important in Germany, as you said, it's nice if it fits to many topics. In Germany, I often have to think out of the box, as astronomy is only, it used to be a topic in East Germany 1 year, but now it's just in STEM education,
Exactly.
quarter of a year. So I must think out of the box, how can I bring astronomy to the pupils in other completely different fields, in informatics, in physics, dimensions I can describe as astronomy. Formulas, etc. So it's really important that we look around which other topics does this fit in to get astronomical education more into the schools.
Yes, I fully agree, and also think it the other way around. Students are usually very fond of space exploration, space, astronomy, stars, the sky. We are going to Mars. So this is also a very powerful tool to make them study other topics, making them understand that science is also fun. So it's also, the other way around is also very true. So yes, and in Italy it's the same. We do not have astronomy anymore in the CV. I mean, it's not a topic that you are obliged to study going to a middle school or a high school.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm not an education person, so I do quite a lot of public facing outreach and outreach to media or other, but it's quite rare that I do schools related activities. And over the past couple of years, I've been working on this project, Explore, and we ended up deciding that we were going to create a schools activity. And so that's been quite an interesting experience for me, working with 3 PhD students. And our topic is machine learning and looking at features on the surface of the moon. So some interesting things in there, but all of them are quite complicated and not necessarily directly curriculum linked. So the whole process has really taken getting on for 2 years, certainly 18 months from sort of start to finish, from really just sort of starting to map out what we were going to do, and then trialing. And I think one of the things that really it's been really challenging is, you know, you have a lesson plan. So you know, in AstroEDU, you have sort of, you know, this activity will take an hour and a half or whatever, and the activity needs context around it. So you're building your plasticity model of the sun, but there's a lot of information about the sun that you need to be able to relate to that. So in our example of this thing with the looking at places on the moon, we have then developed a 45-minute workshop But to start with that sort of talk, you have to bring in lunar exploration, how that works, and then machine learning, what that is, and then what makes craters on the moon, and then sort of ending up doing a mapping process. And initially this started off, the first iteration was a PowerPoint, and we sent it to some educators who went and tried it at schools, and they came back and said all the kids went to sleep. And then we found some videos where people did a machine learning activity which says, you know, look at this is a picture of a cat. How do you know it's a cat? Well, it's got whiskers. How do you know it's not a dog? Because dogs have got ears and whiskers and legs. Well, you know, you're used to looking at cats and dogs. And, you know, here's a bird's flying. How do you know they're birds? You know what the difference is between an aeroplane, and sort of understanding how machine learning works from that. And then again, sort of, we found video about, you know, the old chestnut of cratering and throwing things into flour with cocoa, but a video of that. And we tried that in a couple of schools during EPSC in September. That went into schools and it went reasonably well, and we had an activity at Christmas. But we recently had 2 days where we had 11 back-to-back workshops. And so 2 of us were running this workshop, and rather than sort of having videos, because in the context we put in all of these actual things. So, and the first time it was a bit of a disaster because we got all the timings wrong, and then the second time there was sort of some minor tweaks, and by the end of it, you know, we were quite slick at this thing. But I think the thing really that I find quite difficult in understanding how educational, and this goes back to the previous session, how educational resources are useful, and again, why outreach people tend to be quite individualistic, is because it's really difficult, and it takes a lot of time and thought to kind of go through all of the steps of everything that you might have to explain within the context of, you know, just a 45-minute or an hour's lesson. There's a lot in there. And so, you know, again, back to the plasticine model, you've got the convection zone, you've got what's convection, how does that work? You've got, you know, the formation of stars in the solar system. So there's how did you get there? There's so many things that you could do, and it's for a primary school teacher who may have no real knowledge of these areas of physics, or, you know, they just have information, as you say, from sort of a limited and A4 things. It's still quite daunting. There's still a lot of long words and still a lot of concepts that I think are really, really difficult. So I guess my question is, how much do these things fit together within AstroEDU? So, you know, you've got the bit that talks about how you build the star together, but is there another one that you can tie in that also links to convection, that explains how that works as well, or how light radiates, or how the, you know, are there packages that sort of you can match together?
Okay, there are 2 answers to your question. The first one, the easy one.
Sorry.
The easy one is the collection of activities, because in Astro, you know, because we made a collection, for example, of Europlanet activities. So when one activity is one step, you can put all these activities together to make like un percorso, like a path for a teacher to learn a topic. So maybe explaining the convective zone and the layers of the sunspots, everything in a single lesson, it's impossible because we want to keep it simple. But using the collections of activity, you can try to make, to put together a number of things the teacher needs to know, that the teacher wants to bring in classroom, and to make it as useful as possible. So this is, and it's something that we still didn't review. So we need to work on that, but the idea is to keep the collections. Then there is another answer to your question, which is a bit more complicated, because it puts, I take your question from a communicator point of view, and I ask you, do you really want to bring the convective zone? I mean, do you really want to bring all that scientific content in the activity? Because I feel that the teacher and the student should be the starting point and the ending point of all this. So we really should understand what they need and not start from all the scientific topics that we want to put in a lesson. I mean, the final thing is not us wanting a teacher to become an expert in solar physics or in machine learning. This is our point of view. If you put yourself in their shoes and you ask yourself, if I'm a teacher, I'm explaining mathematics, I'm doing topics in a schoolroom, in my class, why should I use this activity? What do I need? So maybe keeping it simple and just focusing on a simple scientific topic and looking at it from a more general perspective is a better way of approaching the topic from a communication point, not from an educational point of view, but from a communication point of view.
Yes, but sorry. I think it's. I absolutely agree that you cannot teach solar physics.
Simplify, to choose and to simplify.
But I mean, I think what I'm saying is, from a teacher's point of view, is that it is really daunting, or from a non-expert point of view, it is really daunting, because even if you get to the point where basically all you're saying is that the sun's a star and it's made up of lots of layers, which is, the most basic thing. As soon as you get a question which says, well, what are they? Then it's very, very quick to get out of your depth, to feel out of your depth. And I think this is the problem, is that if you are not confident.
No, I understand that, but I believe that making people ask questions and finding the answer is our objective. So if a teacher understands that he doesn't have enough background to answer to the question of his students, and he goes to study that topic using the links that we provided, using the tools that we provide him, I think that we reached the objective. I personally, maybe I'm thinking as a communicator, or maybe we need to find a good balance between education and communication. But I feel if we make a good, effective activity, and the teacher using it understands that he needs to go more in deep to understand more about the sun, because his students ask him questions he doesn't know how to answer, I think we reached the point of having him use the activity, have students ask questions. It is more important to ask questions than to find answers. So if they do ask the question, it means that they have the curiosity to ask questions, they understand that something is not working from what they see. So I think this is what we really want with an educational activity, because remember that this is an educational activity that teacher will use in a classroom that has a year-long program. Yes. So it's just a short activity. We cannot provide all the content, all the background, all the knowledge. We need to inspire, yes, build, make them ask questions. Sorry.
No, sorry. Just a comment about that. My problem is in Germany. Well, it's not to convince the pupils, it's to convince the teacher to make the material. And if that's too complicated, he will look at it and say, I'm not safe with this, I'll not do it. And my teachers, if the description of the project is more than one A4 page, they will not even read it. So I need it short and simple to convince the teacher at first, and then it goes on automatic when they ask. And the difficult thing is then inside the topics to have the links for those information to go deeper, to have it in the project later on. So that's my experience.
I have a note about it and a question too, actually. So just remind that actually these resources are reviewed also by teachers. So then that I would expect then the teacher, if they realize, at least the typical teacher that is embodied by the reviewer, so the reviewer would think of questions that his fellow teachers would have. And actually I have a question about it, and it's what is the process, what happens during the review? So like from a typical activity that you get submitted, what kind of questions do the reviewers ask, in particular the teacher reviewers? So what do they want to be added? Like, is it extra background material, like Anita was suggesting? Is it to bring out more something from topics from the curriculum, or is it to just make it simpler, make it more affordable? What kind of comments do you get?
I mean, I do not have enough activities that we reviewed to make a statistics, because we just started. We are publishing one per month. We published 7 at the moment, so, and they are very different one from the other. So I feel that I should answer in 1 year to this question. But what the process is usually has a first phase in which one person of the editorial board works together with the author to co-design the activity. So I feel I usually deliver this workshop because I feel that when their activity is proposed to AstroEDU, it is not in a form that can be published as it is. It is usually, you usually need some additional work. So to help others, we usually have a co-design phase in which we explain what I explained today. So the importance of having clear images, step-by-step explanation, the background material needs to be scientifically correct, but not too much. So I mean, there needs to be a first phase. Then when this form that you have seen is completed, it goes to the reviewer, who has a form to submit comments. So the reviewer doesn't rewrite text or doesn't correct the text, but just gives comments on specific topics. So we ask him or her questions about is the level good for the age range that is chosen? Does it have evaluation? Do you feel that the evaluation is correct for that age range? Does it have all the material that you think is needed to a teacher to, of course, teachers who review our activities are super good teachers. So,
I think. Sorry. I think this is the absolute core of what I was getting at. Is that so often, and you know, Lothar works on Erasmus Plus. I've just come to the end of an Erasmus Plus project, and so often when we work and interact with teachers, they are amazing people. They are astonishing communicators. They know a lot. They are really, 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 you know, inspiring people who are able to deliver a fantastically exciting lesson. And you know, this absolutely it's absolutely not a criticism of AstroEDU or anything. It's just, I think, more generally about resources that we as a community create, and the teachers that we often get to work with us on creating them are often very, very experienced people. And then how do you get that to a level where it can be useful and easily applicable to not those teachers, but the next level, or other people that are looking for that resource but don't already have that kind of baseline knowledge. And I think that's quite a difficult thing for the community, and sort of, you know, sort of what I see with Erasmus Plus, for example, the workshops and the teachers that go there, it's often the same people that are there again and again and again. And they're wonderful, amazing, fantastic. but they're not the bulk teachers across.
But I think that here, I mean, I don't have an answer to this question. Of course, it is a critical point to all activities that are proposed online and in person, of course. But again, I'm a journalist, and I think there is an expertise in communication and the ability to communicate in an easy way. So I think that having an additional know-how in the editorial board, in simplification, in the ability to put yourself in the shoes of the reader, in the ability to telling the story, not only the content, but the story, to make teachers want to use that activity. I think this is very important as well. So I'm also considering the possibility to have people like me. I mean, I have a scientific background, but maybe it would even be better if I didn't have a scientific background, to have people who are expert in communication, in marketing as well, to collaborate with teachers, with researchers, to make, to make a good balance between good educational, scientific content, but also content that can be used and can be appealing. So I feel that, being myself one person that has two hats on, I feel that this is very important. So I'm also considering the possibility to have science communication internships. People coming from completely different background to have a look. Because of course teachers, and also focus groups, techniques that are used in marketing, in selling activities to verify that the product is the right product for that audience. Sorry if I'm speaking with terms that do not have much in common with education or with science, but I think that observing people who use that activity and how they use it and what's the critical points, I think that it's something that we should do to make it better, to improve the situation. But of course, I do not have an answer to your question. It is a critical point. Yeah. Are there any other questions? No.
Just a big thank you for building up such a system. High quality.
But I didn't read it myself.
It's a team, of course.
Edward Gomez and Pedro Russo.
I'm very happy to have the chance to use it in the future. So,
I'm very happy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So see you very soon on AstroEDU. Thank you for all the participants, for the online participants. Sorry. Ulysses. Okay. See you very soon, Ulysses.